Hello, thanks for coming. I'm Amy Karanik. I'm a Sculpey brand ambassador, and we're in the Sculpey studio today live. And we're going to be looking at 3 different projects using Liquid Sculpey and some various silicone molds. And along the way, we're going to learn some tricks and tips for including things in the Liquid Sculpey, like big chunky foil glitter, like confetti accents, like some alcohol inks, and we've got some cool molds in different sizes and shapes. So I'll give you some tips and tricks for using molds and for pouring the Liquid Sculpey in, and some baking instructions, and we're going to make some really cool stuff. So I'm glad you're here, and please, if you have any questions, let us know in the Q&A or the chat, and we will get your questions answered in real time. So Kelly, if you're ready, let's start working on our project. I'm just going to hit this little thing so I can see what I'm doing. All right. So like I said, we've got 3 projects that we're doing. We're going to make, I'm going to show you how to fill this agate shaped mold. This is a super cool mold. It's actually divided into 4 pieces, and I was able to make all 4 of these coasters that look like agate slices at once. So I'm going to show you how to fill that. And I'm going to show you how to make this really cool letter keychain with a creative way to add your findings. And that was done in this type of a mold. And then lastly, or firstly, I'm going to show you how to make these barrettes. And this is a 2 barrette package. Now, all the molds I'm using came from Michael's, and they have this branding on the top, UV Resin Craft. And so what's really great about Liquid Sculpey is it can go in any silicone mold, even those intended for resin or fondant or chocolate. As long as it's silicone and it can go in your oven, it's all fair game. So this silicone mold set for barrette making came with 2 molds. You get one that's kind of this soft cornered rectangle, and then the other mold holds these big, like soft teardrops. It also came with these great barrette findings that you can attach after baking. So the first thing to know about Liquid Sculpey is that it needs to be stirred before use. Now, I've stirred all my colors except this one. This is our translucent turquoise, and I'm using it to make this look here. And first, you want to just take the lid off your bottle and just go in there and stir. And you want to reach all the way down to the bottom. And this is true of any of our Liquid Sculpeys. Now, I saved this one to stir on camera because it's quite thick. It is more thick than I would want it to be. And sometimes this can happen to Liquid Sculpey if it has advanced a little bit due to the production date or how long it's been in my studio. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes you're going to want a really thick application, and sometimes you'll want a thinner application. Today, I want my Liquid Sculpey to float in here really nicely, and so I want it a little thinner. So what I'm going to do is add a couple drops of our clay softener and conditioner, and I just drip that in, and then I stir again. Now, I call this my dip and drip test. I'm dipping my tool in, I'm stirring in those drops of thinner, and then I'm going to pull my tool out and see how quickly it drips. Because what I want to do is imagine it filling that mold. And I don't know if I can hold it so you can see, but it's running quite quickly off of my tool. And I'm imagining how that will spread in the mold, and I'm going to add just a couple more drops, because I want it to really spread out nicely. And I'm going to put some foil inclusions in there, and I want it to all go together really well. So I'm dipping and then dripping again, and I'm liking that a lot better. At first, it was kind of the consistency of, what was it the consistency of? Now it's just running right off there, almost like syrup or acrylic paint. That's what I'm going for this mold filling. Now I'm going to wipe as much of that Liquid Sculpey as I can right back into the bottle, because I don't want to waste any of it.
Hey, Aim, can you use mineral oil to thin Liquid Sculpey?
I would not. I would only use our clay thinner and softener. Would you use mineral oil, Jen?
No.
Okay.
I do that
Okay, good. Because then I thought, well, Jen, am I saying the right thing? But
Nope.
I would not. The reason I would not is because I know that the clay thinner and softener, which is produced by Sculpey, is part of the family of products that interact well together. And so that's the one I trust. Okay. As with all things Liquid Sculpey, I have to kind of start at the end to back up and show you the beginning. And what I mean by that is I want to show you how to demold a piece that's already baked. This was baked in the mold, and then what you do is you just flex the mold to take your baked piece out. Here's the teardrop one. These were both, this is a confetti one, and this is a chunky foil glitter. And again, you just flex the mold and peel these right out, and then they're ready to glue into barrettes. So now that I have my molds empty, I can show you how I fill them. First, let's take a look at this one. Now, believe it or not, this one is the translucent turquoise, and it just has this really light colored, light blue background. And so what I'm going to do is squirt my liquid in here, and I'm going to fill the mold. I'm just going to put a bead of it down in the mold, like so. And then I can just tap that a bit, and that releases air bubbles. It's kind of like back in the day when I used to make chocolates at home in my mom's kitchen, and we would always tap, 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 tap that mold to make the liquidy chocolate fill all the little details. These molds aren't real detailed, but you still want your stuff to spread. Now, what I have here is some chunky foil glitter in a copper color. And I'm just going to go in here and get some of that and sprinkle it into my liquid. And I'll put like a lot, and then I'll spread it out with one of my tools. Now, the reason I'm adding the inclusion, which is the foil glitter, to the liquid already in the mold is because this way I'm only making as much of this this translucent turquoise with the copper. I'm only making the exact right amount to fill the mold. I could pre-mix it in a little cup like this. I could pre-mix the glitter and the Liquid Sculpey together. But doing it right inside the mold when possible, that helps you not have like way extra of the mixed product. And that way you haven't wasted any at all. Okay, now that I have kind of a nice little layer of this bronze or copper foil all spread around, I'm going to go in and backfill with more of the Liquid Sculpey. A great way to clean up your tools is just to use paper towel. So I'm going to backfill with a little bit more of this because I want my foils to be completely embedded in the Liquid Sculpey, and I want my mold to be filled to level. So I'm going to squirt some more of that in, and then I'm just going to tap it again and let it all spread. Now, if you see any air bubbles come up that don't pop just by tapping, you can go in there with a needle tool or a toothpick or even the tip of your knife tool or your tweezers and just pop that bubble and get right rid of it. Okay, now the baking instructions for Liquid Sculpey are 275 for about 30 minutes. And you want to go the full time and the full temperature. That would be ready to bake. Of course, I would go ahead and fill these two and make really good use of my baking time. But you want to go the full time and temperature, 30 minutes at 275 to make sure your piece is as strong as possible. When these pieces come out, they're very, very flexible, which makes them great for hair barrettes. They're flexible and strong, but only if you observe the correct baking time and temperature. Now I want to show you how I made these two. This one is confetti, and this one is like a chunky foil glitter. So what I did, these are both clear based. So I have my clear Liquid Sculpey. And again, you've got to make sure that your liquid is stirred and stirred and stirred. So you would just want to go way down in there and get the bottom all stirred up. Now, clear Liquid Sculpey needs a little bit more stirring than the other colors because it goes completely clear. It's a whole different animal and a whole different recipe than the ones with color in them. And it's the only one that goes clear during baking. So you just need to make sure it's really stirred well. just like you would a lot of craft materials that required stirring, like paint. Make sure it's stirred, and I stir my clear liquid Sculpey each and every time I use it. Okay, it'll have a little bit of chunkiness down in the bottom and a little bit of liquidiness on the top, and you just want to make sure those are completely incorporated so they play well together. Okay, so for this one, I put the lid back on and I've got it completely open, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, and that is I'm going to fill my mold sort of what I would call like half full, because I want to leave room to put my inclusions in, and I want to leave room to kind of mess around with them in case I don't get them right where I want them. And if you fill the mold all the way to the top, then you might not have room to work. So just squirt that in and kind of let it level out on its own. And that's probably about half full. Now I'm going to do this confetti one first. This came, let me show you this little kit that this came in. There's 16 different little containers of goodies in this package. This is also a resin craft package. And this is just one that I picked out, and I'm calling it confetti dots. And they're just multicolored, neat little cool embellishments. So I'll just go in here with some tweezers and pick some up. Oh, they're popping all over. Just picking up a bunch and distributing them all over the liquid Sculpey. Really, I'm just kind of trying to not get it in the one next door because I want to, oop. Well, it is confetti. It's just like a party. So I'll put the lid back on. And then I'll just use my little knife tool to go ahead and distribute these. And see what I mean about not filling that mold totally full yet, because you need a little bit of room to work around in there with your cool confetti. Making sure it gets like sort of an even spread. I could even pick some of these up with my the sticky tip of my tool and add them in.
Hey, Amy, while you do that, somebody has a question about fumes and baking in their normal oven. Oh, okay. That's a great question. So I want you to know that in my home, I have a studio with dedicated ovens for polymer clay and for liquid Sculpey. And I have that in a well-vented studio. I can open a window right next to my oven if I want to, or run a fan. And I use that almost every day. But if I also use my kitchen oven when I make really big things, and that is not a problem. Liquid Sculpey and Primo and Sculpey 3 and Souffle, all of those are non-toxic, and you can use them in your home oven. You just want to monitor your time and temperature, and liquid Sculpey does give off a little bit of a fume as it's baking, but it's completely non-toxic. So when I use my kitchen oven, I use an oven thermometer to make sure that my temperature is really accurate. And then I put my overhead fan on and I vent it the whole time I'm baking. Now, another thing that you can do to kind of capture fumes so that you're not leaving any smell in your oven is you can tint things. And what I mean by tint is like, you know, put a lid over it. And what I do sometimes is I use real inexpensive aluminum foil, like casserole pans. I have one of those that I keep, and I'll just put that over my project while it's baking in my home oven. And then that kind of traps like fumes or smells in there. And then I just bring the whole thing out and let my kitchen vent or kitchen fan do the work of ventilating any fumes. So I hope I answered your question. You'll notice what I did there was I went ahead and backfilled all the way to level on this confetti one with more liquid Sculpey. And I kind of want my little confetti dots though to be embedded in there. So I'm going to just go through and kind of tap them down so they have liquid Sculpey on the top of them as well as underneath them. And that's how I did the confetti one.
And that one turned out really pretty after it was baked. If I tilt it, you can see all the cool colors. If you look at it from the side, you can kind of tell that my little confettis are actually between layers of liquid. They're not just floating on the top. All right, next let's take a look at making this one. And my other sample is actually prettier because I got a better distribution of pink ones up here and blue ones down here. And that's really what I'm going for. Here was that done one, and here was the copper one that we did earlier. So for that one, I'm going to use this really cool, this is very lightweight, iridescent, chunky glitter. I'm not sure I'd call it foil. Like this one, I like to call these foil because they're almost like, you know, like aluminum foil that's been ripped up. But these are way more iridescent and almost see-through. So these you kind of want to put, them in kind of thick, because like I said, they're pretty see-through, and in the clear liquid Sculpey, if you don't get them layered in there real thick, they have a tendency to not show up. So I'll just put a bunch of this in here. I'm going to put the pink ones on one end and the blue ones on the other, because I wanted it to look kind of like a little ombre effect. There's all kinds of things that you can put in your liquid Sculpey. Some people like to put spices in there, like pepper is a really cool effect. I've put rock salt in my liquid Sculpey before. You can even put candy sprinkles, cookie sprinkles. You might want to test them first. Not all sprinkles are created equal, and some of them might tend to melt in the liquid Sculpey, and some of them will make it. But you could just bake like a little test sample and see how they bake up. Chunky glitter, foil glitter, mica powder, alcohol ink, which I'm going to show you today. These are all fair game for putting in the liquid Sculpey. I had trouble getting that glitter out of the bottle, so I'm just putting it in my hand. It really wants to stick in there. But no matter what oven you're using, you always want to make sure that your oven time and temperature is accurate for each different product, so that you get the best possible outcome when baking your pieces. All right, so that's like a kind of a cool even. I've got pink on the top and blue on the bottom, and then I just want to backfill with more clear, because I want my chunky glitter to be really sandwiched in there. So I'm covering over, and I want to go all the way to level with this barrette piece. And I'm going to go ahead and tap this too, if I can get it picked up, and tap it on my work surface, let the bubbles out, and then that's ready to go in the oven. So let me set this out of the way and show you how to finish these. Like I said, this little kit came with those two molds, and it came with these great barrettes. And I kind of like to use a silicone glue when I'm working with gluing metal pieces to my oven baked clay. I like silicone glue because it works really well on non-porous things. And these are definitely non-porous to non-porous. So I'm just going to try to get a little bead all the way around here. And I like the barrettes that came with this because they're very, they're open. And so the mold has that nice opening in the middle, and you could just set that on there and let it dry. You could also kind of secure that with a rubber band to make sure it doesn't slip and slide around while it's drying, or if you have some tiny craft clamps. So this set came with both square barrettes and then the rounded style barrette. So that was really nice. All right, I'm going to move these out of the way, and we'll move on to our next project that features some different types of liquid Sculpey work. Let me just do a 2-second tidy.
I mean, how long do you have to let the glue dry for?
That silicone glue, I think it dries to the touch in like less than an hour, but they say that for a really good permanent bond, you need to wait overnight. Yeah. You can also use instant drying like super glues, fast drying glues. Any of those are fair game. Just whatever you prefer, really. Okay, next let's take a look at making this cool letter keychain. And I used a really innovative way to attach the finding on this too, which I'll show you on some of my samples. So the mold looks like this, and it comes in 2 parts. This is that same brand, that Resin Craft stuff, and it comes like A through M and then N through Z. You get 2 trays of molds, and I have some already in here. So we'll start at the end again, and I'll show you how to demold. So these pieces are already baked, and these have a marbled effect that I used on them. Now, sometimes when you demold something, and this has been completely baked, you'll get this little edge right here, and you maybe can't see it, but I can sure feel it. And that's kind of just how it works when you're pouring a liquid into a silicone mold. And I like to just go in here with some really sharp scissors after it's completely cool and just trim that away so that I don't have a rough edge on the side. And that's super easy. It doesn't distort the color or change. The color goes all the way through. So there's no damage to your actual design. You're just kind of trimming away that little flashing where the liquid kind of gets stuck to the side of the mold. And I just think it gives it a really nice look. So there's that. And I want to talk to you about filling the mold, and then I'll talk to you about how I finished it with that little hook to turn it into a keychain. So first what I did was I've got some white liquid Sculpey, and I already have stirred it. And I'll just open that completely up, and let's just do an E. And so what I want to do is fill this E like halfway up. And basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a landscape to do my marbling work on, and I'm filling the mold up so that I don't have so many layers to deal with. I'm going to leave the white open, and this was already stirred. And then I'm going to show you how I did that purple color, because I did that with clear liquid Sculpey and alcohol ink. So I'm going to put some clear liquid Sculpey in the bottom of this little silicone mixing cup. I should have used a smaller cup, but that's okay. All right, I have just like filled the bottom of that mixing cup. And these are the kind of cups that you get at like in the baking department. They're reusable cupcake cups. And now I have some alcohol ink that I'm going to just put 1 drop of down into the liquid. And like I said, this is clear liquid Sculpey. So I'm going to drop 1 drop in. And this stuff is super duper concentrated, so you don't need a lot. And if you're unsure of what your outcome is going to be, you might want to just go ahead and do a test run and bake a little drop of this color to see what color you're going to get before you do your whole project. But you can see that looks pretty dark, and it's really nice and runny. But I want my purple to be runnier than my white, because that's how it created this really cool kind of marbled effect. That some of that was done on its own. I think you might be able to see it better in this one because this was a little bit lighter of a purple. But by making the purple color a little bit thinner than the white, they caused this weird interaction, which I really appreciated. So I just added a couple drops of liquid thinner, and I'm making this a lot more runny. So I wish I had a sideways camera to show you how runny this is, but I don't. So I'm just going to wipe that off and set that aside for now. And I'm not going to set it aside. I'm going to use it right away, and I'm going to use this tool to drip some random drips here on top of this white in the E. And at first, it doesn't look like a lot is happening, but after a while, it's going to start really kind of doing this crazy mix job. Now I'm going to use more of the white, and I'm going right between my purple drops with the white. And we're going to do this like 3 times, where we drop the purple drops in, and then we add white drops beside the purple. So I'm kind of going purple on top of purple and white on top of white. So I'm creating sort of layers of colors that are going to kind of freely mix after a while. Okay, let's do a little bit more white.
Hey, Amy, while you're doing that, can you talk about instead of trimming the edges, once you demold it, could you sand it instead?
You could sand it, but Liquid Sculpey has, let me show you on this piece that's already molded. Liquid Sculpey is very flexible after baking. And because of this flexibility, it's almost sort of rubbery. And so sanding just really is very laborious. So that's why I choose to cut with the little scissors, because it just snips it right off in a hurry. I find that sanding just takes way too long. So I dropped more purple on purple, and I don't have this, I want this to be almost completely level. So I'm just going to do a few more drops of the white. And I wish you could see those muddled edges between the purple and the white. That's where those colors are really starting to like marble themselves together. And I really like that because it looks so organic and unintentional. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is add some little pops of shine with this gold Liquid Sculpey. And I'm just going to put the tiniest little drops at random in here. And you could put them in the white or the purple, like so. The Liquid Sculpey, the gold Liquid Sculpey, when it bakes, is just really, really shiny, and it has a lot of sparkle to it. So after that bakes, you'll be able to see it better. Okay, next I want to take like a needle tool or a toothpick, and I'm just going to drag through these swirls of the gold and a little bit through the swirls of the purple and white, and just give this even a more random type of swirling action. So you kind of get some hard lines in there, and you get some really soft marbled lines. So let me show you, maybe I can show you this a little closer up. You can see in this finished one, the gold spots are here and here. And I just love the way it kind of, it marbles itself a bit, because the white and the purple were such different consistencies. And then if you look at it from the side, you can see how it has this completely white bottom where, you know, I put that white layer in first. Now, also, when you're working with molds like this, you really want to pay attention. Some molds are shaped so that, like this alphabet mold is right reading. So I have, although my camera is telling me it's wrong reading, but it actually is right reading. So this is the top of the C, and this is the top of the E. And other molds will be wrong reading. So you have to pay attention if you're filling the back from the back or from the front. Okay, so that'll go in the oven following the bake instructions, 275 for 30 minutes. And when it comes out, you'll have this really great little cool design that you'll want to go ahead and trim those little flashings away. You can also do this with an X-Acto, but I just find that scissors are the easiest and the fastest. So I'll trim all those away. And then in the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my little hook and eye, my little eye guys. They're like these super tiny cup hooks is what they are, and they're threaded. So that's what they look like. Super duper tiny hook with a little threaded screw. And what I do is I just push it in really hard and get it to tap in. And once it taps into the rubber, then you can just twist it in. And so I'm going to use my pliers to help me grab that and push it in better. So I'll just put the hook in here in my pliers, and then I can really push it in. And once it's pushed, it starts the threading. And this is a this is a good way to get attachments onto Liquid Sculpey. Well, sorry, a little bit nervous, I think. I probably should start a tap hole. There we go. I'll start a tap hole, a pre-drill, and then I can push that in better. Okay, I'm just going to use my fingers. There we go. Sorry about that. And then just finish it off, sink that eye all the way down in there. Now, other ways that you can do this if your mold doesn't provide holes is you could drill a little hole with a pin drill or a spring drill or even a Dremel craft drill. I just think these little screw-in eyes are genius for this. And then you're ready at that point. You can add a little jump ring onto a keychain. Just twist that open. And then if I want to, I can add a little tassel to the side and make a really trendy and fun looking little designer keychain. Super cute. Great stocking stuffer or gifts for your best friends. Make all their, you know, names and letters, and I just think those are really fun. So, okay, that's the keychain. Now let me do another little tidy up and we'll move on to the agate style coasters. Just want to get some of this stuff out of the way. All right, this is a really fun mold. It's quite large, so it can take a lot of liquid to fill, or you can opt to just fill. You don't have to fill the whole thing. Here's 1/4 of it that's already filled and baked. And this is the same situation. You have to decide, like in this mold, this could be the top or the bottom. So it's up to you, whichever side you like best. This is quite shiny because of the Liquid Sculpey that we used, can get really shiny after it's baked. And then the other side is really bright in color too. So it makes just a very pretty set of 4 coasters if you decide to fill the whole thing. Now here again, this has that little flashing along the edge, and you just want to go through here and maybe take some of that off. Like so. It's super easy to get that off so that it doesn't have that rough edge. Okay, so let me show you how I filled one. I'll fill 1/4 of this so that you can see how I did it. Oops, that's upside down. I'm just going to lay that there for my pattern. Now, when I did this set, I did all 4 at once. That way, I kind of got a rhythm to the way I was laying out my colors, and everything kind of lined up. That way, if you want to, you know, display it as a big agate, that's entirely possible. So I did do all 4 sections at once. I have 2 of these upside down. And that's how I got it, you know, to look kind of like a single unit. So I'll just show you how I did 1/4 of it, and then you can decide how to go from there. Now, Liquid Sculpey comes in a lot of colors, and so you could design your own, you know, set of agate pieces in your own colorway that would look great. This color I started with in the middle is Peacock Pearl. And I just let it kind of randomly fill. And then the next thing I did was the gold. And the gold one, I'm kind of like letting it dance around to create kind of more of that agate type of look. And then this one is a big band of translucent turquoise. And I'm going to put this in here wider. And then in the translucent turquoise, I used some of this clear chunky confetti. And I'll just drip some of that into there. And I'm going to try to get it just kind of only in that translucent turquoise area. But really, if you get some elsewhere, it really doesn't matter, because this is an agate that we're mimicking, and we want it to look, you know, really natural and organic. So we don't want it to be too planned. So just dripping that right down, dropping those into the translucent turquoise area. Now, as I go, I'm not trying to get the whole mold filled to level. I'm trying to layer these in here. You know, just what I'm doing right now is just marking the space that I want for each color. I'm not even trying to get it up to level. This is white, and I'm going to follow this translucent turquoise around. And then I'm going to put another little bitty band of translucent turquoise without the glitter up to the white. And then I'm going to do a row of gold, which is what I have here. And if you make your bands kind of different thicknesses, it'll look more natural too. And then peacock pearl again. You can see when it bakes how bright and colorful the colors get, because this peacock pearl that's baked is so much deeper than that one. And then next I had more white. And then I have an area of clear, and that's what's going on right here. That's kind of a wide area of clear. Now the clear looks white, but I'm telling you, this is clear. It says clear. Now, if you wanted to, you could pre-mix some of these colors up with the foils right in them in some of those mixing cups like I told you about, or you can add them to the mold and then put, like this has more of the clear confetti glitter in it. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of that back in here. I'm going to hold my fingers really close so that I'm trying to just get the clear right here in this newest band that I just added. I'm gonna clean my hands off over the trash can. Now, if you've got some of these out here and you don't want them in certain places, you could just scoot them in and incorporate those into the last band of liquid like that. Okay, now next, after the clear was more of the translucent turquoise. And this time I wanted it to have a really different look. So I put pink chunky glitter in the translucent turquoise in this band so that it wouldn't look exactly like the last one. And it would add more, sort of more dimension there. So that's how we are so far. And then next I want another row of gold. Now, every once in a while, you could kind of, you know, make your row more wavy or more straight just to break it up and give it a real natural look. And then I'm going to do this outside row of peacock pearl. And then I'm going to go back in the middle and put a white one. This peacock pearl is really running real nicely. And then I'm going to put a band of white that kind of goes over the peacock pearl and the gold and let it fill in that space. Okay, so now my mold is established with like my different colors, but I want to fill it all the way up to level so that it makes a nice flat even surface for a coaster. So all I have to do now is go back in and refill the areas with the same color that I used before. So that was the peacock pearl, and I'm going to layer in some gold. And Jen, can you give me a time check?
It's 4:41.
Okay, so now this translucent turquoise layer right here, it already had that, it's got some glitter in it. So I'm sandwiching the glitter in with this next row of translucent turquoise. And then I want some more white. And then I want a little more translucent turquoise. And then more gold. I just love projects like this. It's just kind of relaxing and doodly. And then more Peacock pearl. And when you're creating this project like this in layers, the layers kind of interact with each other. They kind of overlap a bit, and then they create these really neat effects when they bake. So now if I can remember, that one is the clear, that one there. So I want to be sure and put clear back on top of that one. Just sandwiching all those little bits in. And then I've got another row of translucent turquoise. It looks like I'm covering all my glitters up, but they really will show through because I used it in both the clear color and the translucent color. I'm going to add the white in here and I'm filling that little hole. And you would want to just keep doing this all the way up to level. And you can see how pink this one is up here and how cool that looks, because once it bakes, the clear really shines clear, and then the translucent turquoise with the pink in it really has the ability to show that pink through. And so that's how they look when they're baked. And then this one had the clear chunky glitter in the translucent turquoise as well. Another thing that you can do is make more variety of lines by using something thin, like a toothpick or like a needle tool. And so if I want to get some real thin lines going in here, I could pick up some of this Peacock pearl that's out here by itself, and I could go back in here and just start adding it in and start dragging it through some of the, like through the white where it's going to show up more. If you have a real small tool, you can just really doodle around with that and create thinner lines like an agate would have going through it like that. And you could do that with the gold. And get some of this and put it in the gold area too.
Hey, Amy.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about for coasters, will they resist moisture or should they be sealed?
No, these are, once Liquid Sculpey is completely baked, it's very rubbery and it's waterproof and it's very well sealed. So you don't need to do anything to it. You can use either side. Sometimes when I design coasters, if one side is way prettier than the other, I might even go so far as to glue a piece of cork on the back, but that's really just for a design process. It's not because the coaster needs it. It's waterproof. It's perfectly fine to use, but sometimes I like to incorporate a cork backing just for the look of the coaster. So now once this is all filled, let me put that guy back in there. You want to go through and tap this quite a bit. You want to make sure you've filled it all the way to level, and then tap and tap and tap so that you're releasing some of those stubborn air bubbles that are going to come up. And this piece over here, I didn't get it quite filled completely to level. And so then what I did was I took my clear Liquid Sculpey and I completely coated it all the way up to the level. And that really helped that one to shine a lot too. And if your clear isn't completely clear when it comes right out of the oven, you can take a heat gun and add a little bit of additional heat. And once it just comes to a super glossy shine, then that is just as clear as it's and shiny as it's going to go. So there's how that looks. And we'll just put a few more in here so that you can enjoy how the whole design looked. All right. So Jen, I hope I haven't forgotten anything. I think I've covered it all, but do we have any more questions that need answered right away?
Yeah, on the keychain.
Yes.
Could you add some glue to the screw, or is the screw pretty like firmly in there?
Yeah, it is really firmly in there because Liquid Sculpey in its baked form is quite rubbery. And that is really firmly in there. Liquid Sculpey kind of has the ability that it kind of is self-healing. Like if you poke a hole in it, it's going to want to kind of swell back up around the hole. But if you want to go the extra mile and put a little instant drying glue on there before you screw that in, that is a great idea. No problem there. So.
And someone else would like to know if the coasters are heat resistant.
They are heat resistant up to about 325. So I would not use them for a trivet. Coaster quality only, because it is, you could burn it if you get much hotter than that. So please don't use it for a trivet. It's really only for a coaster, but it's certainly great for coffee or hot chocolate or hot tea, if that was what they had intended. So yeah. All right, I think that's all I have. I'm going to scooch back over here, Kelly, and remind people that we would love to see your work if you've been inspired by this class today and you choose to post something on social media. Please use the hashtag Sculpey, hashtag how do you Sculpey, and please also use the hashtag make it with Michaels. And we would love to see what you've made. And I look forward to showing you some other inspirations for future classes. And I think that's it for now. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.